Hey guys, we're filming with the DKI, what is this thing called? The Pocket Osmo camera right now. It's a gimbal. So, I don't want to throw a whiny fit. I'm just going to tell you, it's been a pretty rough week. I haven't been having the best of luck, I'll tell you that. From the 8100, I'm going to tell you something on that 8100. I didn't catch it when I bought the, I can't remember what they call it, but it's the piece that splines into the stub shaft on the planetary that I replaced that had the groove worn in it. It seems like I used to buy those and the bushing was in them. There was no bushing in it. So it made the axle walk around and make it leak. So I pulled it all back apart, saw there was no bushing in that. Anyways, I changed that. I demolished the front end on my service truck. Part of the reason is I hit a gate post with it. So there's a little more to the story on that. I know my window's filthy, as usual. But this left arm's all swole up. It's pretty bad right now. I found out that I have this arthritic condition called pseudo gout. And it's calcium crystals that get built up in the fluid around the joint. Well, you guys remember last year when my knee got all locked up and swollen up? That wasn't anything to do with my knees going bad. That was pseudo gout. So, yeah, had the blood test done and all that stuff. Came back as, yep, that's what I got. So, there's no cure for it, apparently. I guess there's some things that I can do to my diet to try to... It's almost kind of like shingles. It's just going to pretty much haunt me for the rest of my life. It'll come back every now and then. So what it does, those calcium crystals get built up around the joint, and then it takes time just to kind of dissolve them and get worked out of your system, from what I understand. But anyway, the other thing is, this is the thing probably that ticked me off more than anything. So I got this DKI camera, which so far I like. Still trying to figure out all the ins and outs and how to use it correctly. So I put I did all the filming on the 3116, most of it on the GoPro camera. Well, I wanted to continue on, so I just took which I should have never done that. I should have continued videoing with that one. And anyhow, I took the SD card out of that one. I put it in this one, the micro SD card. Well, this camera reformatted it and it wiped all the footage out. So anyway, that was another kind of cap things off for the week. So I got another hood laying in Eugene at Anderson Brothers for my truck, $1,500. I took my cordless drill and I got the headlight zip tied into the fender. I've got what was going on, I came out of a place and this arm, I couldn't turn the wheel fast enough because my arm was locking up on me. And I saw it coming. I saw it coming. I hit the post and I demolished my hood. And there was a lot of expletives coming out of my mouth. And anyway, it's been a rough week. So anyhow, I'm sorry for spouting all my problems out, but it is what it is. You got to kicked in the head every now and then. You just keep on going. But anyways, going down here right now to unload the fuel tank and the hood off the trailer that belongs to this Challenger. Maybe I can get it running today. So that's what we're going to do next. Yeah, we can't tell you about the hood there without showing you. yeah, I did a number on it. It's just been like, I don't know, it's just been one of those, some people have bad days. Sometimes it seems to run into like weeks and months for me, but I don't know. It's just, told my wife, says, well, my wife told me, she says, if anything can happen, it'll happen to you. And I said, oh, yeah. Oh, well, I guess such is life. This New Holland tractor, I got to get a hold of that guy, the shuttle lever. New Holland changed their parts program, and we looked it up, and if the shuttle lever, you can either have one with electric over hydraulic remotes. That was what they said on their parts thing. Or you could have one with mechanical remotes. Well, this one has electric over hydraulic remotes. Well, we ordered the one with, of course, what it said. And there's no park position and shuttle lever. So then we found out that New Holland has changed their parts program, and they have never put the correct lever in there. So, I'm just coming down here to see what all we got here. There's the fuel tank, air cleaner, okay. So there's our bolts and everything in here. We should be good to go. Headlight. Alright, well, I guess I'll come down here and unload it, and I'll just crane it back into the service truck, and we'll take it in there and we'll put it all on and see if we can get that thing running. Alright, so I got the guy's fuel tank here and air cleaner and air induction scoop and plates, bolts, lights, all kinds of stuff there to put on that. But first, I think my wife's on her way down with about... I want to explain something. See, I had made a video about this too, and it's all gone too, so I want to kind of recap on what I was doing here. Okay, customer brought this in. These guys are not farmers, okay? He kind of a what I'm not running the guy down. He's a logger, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not running loggers down. I have to watch what I say because people get offended so easily anymore, and they think that you're running them down or something. So you got to be careful with what you say in every aspect of your conversation. So anyways, he's dabbling in farming, you know. He bought this Challenger. I'm not sure when he bought it, but I don't think he's had it very long. Anyways, he said they used it last year and everything was fine. Went to use it this year and didn't want to steer, and tracks need to be changed on it. What else? Wouldn't start from in the cab. Had to jump across the start solenoid. See, I had videoed I'm so disappointed in that entire situation. I've learned another big lesson. Don't ever reformat. Don't ever reformat anything. Just go with what you got. So anyway, I figured out the hydraulic problem. This has a closed loop hydrostatic steering, so it means it has you got a piston pump in here, and I'll walk over here and show you, and we'll try to make the best of this situation as we can possibly make it. And maybe somebody will get something out of this video. Right here, you'll see on the back that big pump right there. That's your differential steering high pressure pump. Piggybacked right off the back end of that pump is your charge pump, and then piggybacked off the charge pump is the differential lube pump. Okay, so and see, I didn't even, to be completely honest with you, I'll tell you how this entire system works from beginning to end. Okay, let's start out with the oil. The charge pump sucks oil from the tank over here. Okay, supplies makeup oil, because if there's any kind of internal leakage going back through case drain, it loses. It's a closed loop system, but it has to provide makeup oil for that system as well. But without charge pressure, it ain't gonna work. Okay, because one of the things charge pressure does to this system, on this closed loop system, for one thing, is it's the one that runs the servo pistons that on the displacement control valve runs the servo pistons, right? The servo pistons are what move the swash plate in the pump to change your steering your angle on your swash plate, which makes it steer left or right. Okay, so let's start out the beginning. Okay, charge pump sucks oil out of there. What it does, comes through this line on this particular tractor. Some applications are different. So that comes through this line, comes into the brake valve here, comes out of this brake valve, goes through this line, goes through the oil cooler, which is up here in front of the radiator, comes out of the oil cooler, goes back into the filters, these two hydraulic filters, okay? Those filters are brand new because he didn't have any charge pressure. Well, it was low. It was 100 psi. Should be around 325, 350. And so my first thing was, I thought, well, hell, maybe he's got restricted filters. So I stuck filters on it. And when I stuck filters on it, it went completely to zero. And you'll notice that the pressure port on it for checking charge pressure is after the filters. So anyway, more on that part of the story later, so we'll explain the operation, because a lot of people ask me on hydrostatic steering, and I know some knucklehead's going to get on here and say, you talk too much. They want to watch silent videos and guys just working, I guess. They don't want to learn anything. Whatever. Anyhow, so that's your charge system, basically, okay? That charge pressure goes back into that line right on the side of your piston pump, right there. That elbow right there. Okay, so then you've got a displacement control valve up there on top of the pump there, and this particular pump I think has 4 servo pistons. This is when Cat was way more involved with this whole process of making Challengers. As you notice that pump says Caterpillar on the side of it. That's a Caterpillar pump. Okay, now everything else is going to be Rexroth or Sardanfoss or something like that. I mean, all this MT stuff, I don't really care a whole lot for them, but anyway, so here is what you call your steering control. The most simplified thing I can tell you on this steering control basically sends pilot oil. Pilot oil, when you turn the wheel through that steering control valve, sends pilot oil to the displacement control valve on top of the pump to move the servo pistons one way or the other to change the swash plate angle to make it steer left or right. Okay? And maybe later I'll get into differential steering. I keep hoping I used to work on a lot of differential steering in these Challengers when they'd break a gear or something. I mean, it'd be kind of neat to tear one apart on a video and show you how a differential steering system works in one of these. Kind of the same principle in a Cat, too. All the modern bulldozers work on pretty much the same principle of differential steering. So anyway, that's your hydrostatic closed-loop steering system. So, I don't even want to call this guy. I think that here's the thing. In his defense, okay, he has never been around this stuff. He's a logging guy, and some tractors are a little bit. I've been confused a couple times on some newer tractors, and even some older ones that you'll see 2 or 3 different dipsticks for different things. You don't know what's supplying what. You almost need to get an operator's manual and read the damn thing from beginning to end to figure out what sump runs what. You know, do you have a sump for your implement system? Do you have a sump for your steering system? What's the deal here, you know? Well, anyway, long story short, which maybe not be so short, I walked up here, and after I lost and went to zero pressure on the tracks, I walked up here and I flopped this hatch open, and I looked down in there. This is your hydraulic tank. If you follow this outlet of the tank, there's a pipe going down right into the suction side of that charge pump, and it's clear empty. There's no oil in it. So they were probably pulling a disc or something that had a leaking hydraulic cylinder or something on it, more than likely, and they lost most of their oil, or it sat there and leaked during the winter as it sat and leaked all the oil off. So it's got no oil in it. Okay, so the next thing was it wasn't starting from the cab. As we've got everything torn apart in here still. This is the only dark place in the shop. This is the only place I could get, because remember, it wouldn't steer when I got it in here. I mean, just barely. So anyhow, neutral safety's on the board. There's a micro switch right there, if you can see that. There's the micro switch. So I pulled this panel out to check if I had any power to the micro switch at all for neutral safety, because that's kind of what I suspected, because those do go out. And I didn't have any power there anywhere, so anyhow, after tearing the lower panel, these got an old GM Chevy pickup steering column. That's what that is. That's like out of maybe a mid-90s, early 80s, or late 80s Chevy pickup right there. So it's just basically the ignition tumbler's running a starting rod that goes down the top of the column that runs an ignition switch, and that ignition switch is gonna do the lamp check on the dash, and it's gonna send power through the neutral safety and back to the start relay to send power to the actual solenoid on the starter. So the female terminals on the ignition switch itself were just spread and loose, and I just pulled it apart and collapsed the terminals with a screwdriver and put it back together. And I'll show you. Not really knowing how this camera is going to view things. It seems like it's more of a camera made for, like, I don't know. It doesn't have as wide of an angle on it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this is going to work or not, this camera. But as you can see, she starts from the cab now, so we like that. So I gotta go find my Allen, and I'm gonna put this together, and my wife's on her way down here right now with about, I think 40 gallons of oil to dump in it, and I'm gonna try to get this thing running, get it out of the way for now. We have to pull these tracks off. We're gonna put new tracks on it. We're gonna put either of these rollers, we might send these rollers off because there's an outfit in Idaho that'll press on new rubber. It's way cheaper. They wanted to recap, because you can recap these tracks too. I've never done it. I don't really know how well it works. I just know that truck tires, I don't like recaps on truck tires. They come apart and they just tear everything up. So I don't really, but you're not really going that fast with this. And you clear down into the belts here, cables on that. But she's a slick, she's a racing slick. But I think that he's going to have to put new tracks on it, because you can see here, when you get rips in the inside like that, they're junk. Here's another big rip right here. It's just garbage. I mean, it's just junk. So what'll happen is, the other thing that people don't really pay much attention to is, see these center lugs on the track? I don't know if they can repair those or not. But see how worn these are? I mean, they're really tapered and worn really bad. But on these Challengers here, this is more of an informational video I'm trying to show you here on these Challengers. See the hard bar right there in the center? There's shims in there. So what you do is you put the tracks on these Challengers. You put a new set of tracks on. You run that thing, you road it down a smooth road, and you come back and you take a temperature of each side of this lug. And whatever temperature, if one side's hotter than the other by a certain amount of degrees, then you have to pull this hard bar somewhere in here. There's shims. And then you re-shim them, if I remember right. It's been a while, so. Anyways, that's what's going on with the 75C Challenger. These 75Cs, I really liked them. They had heavy-duty Wilcox hitches on them. I mean, these hitches are absolutely just dang near indestructible. I mean, it is a pretty much a Category 4 hitch, and they're tough. Look at the big wide spring. Pretty good. It's got a wide swing drawbar on it as well. Oh, pretty neat setup, really. I like these old Challengers. You know, something I failed to mention on my explanation of the steering system. When the steering pump and the swash angle plate turns, what it does, it sends oil to this bent axis steering motor. Okay, and then the steering motor is going to turn the differential steering gear. Okay, I'm really apologize for not having as much video footage as I should have had on that, and everything getting wiped out, but it was another lesson learned. Don't reformat your disc or you will lose everything. Alright guys, we're using the active track on this gimbal. Now it's supposed to track this, so I shouldn't have to move this. I think the thing only tilts so far though when you reach its limit. I guess this thing's working, huh? That active track is, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's working too damn good, really. It's pointing too high. Yeah, we'll try that. bar or something. Yeah, the E-model cats always had a 9/16 bleeder plug on it, but these had 11/16 on here. Over it. I dumped 10 gallons into it. It was clear empty. There's an auxiliary fuel tank under the seat on these, so. The problem with these is getting the air out of this upside down filter. The air gets trapped up here. It can be a miserable son of a gun trying to get them bled out sometimes. Do they have a valve open on one of these? They do. Got the valve open, okay. This is a good primer pump on it. Some of the Challengers have that Agco style little primer pump on them, and they're absolutely horrible. This is a good cat priming pump. Something worth having. This one I think is going to prime up okay. Get out of here! Somebody driving by. Go on now, get out of here. Okay, so there's another bleeder plug that'll bleed this filter. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. I've had to pressurize the tank with air to get the fuel shoved through it. I mean, I've had these things get airlocked on me before and just be absolutely just a fight to get the air out of them. This one's actually got a good primer pump in it though. It's priming right up. And you can hear the fuel going back through to return back in the tank. That's a real good indication. Okay. Go put the battery cable on it. And let's go see what happens, huh? Well, let's see what happens. Well, guys, I don't have any antifreeze in it yet. I mean, it runs, but seems like it kind of cleared up there a little bit. But I need to get antifreeze in it now and run it a while, and get the air cleaner on and stuff, and run it a while and make sure it's going to be okay.